whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Hello. Thank you for joining me on the Nikki Medoro Show live each day, weekday, starting at noon Pacific or anytime on YouTube. We will get into the brawls, the shootings, the stabbings that are happening with our kids. Did you see that video of the Stonestown Galleria brawl? This isn't new, apparently. It's becoming a growing problem. In a moment, I'm going to share with you a story that my daughter shared about a nearby school, and she used a certain phrase. And I just want to ask you guys, like, are these fights that we see, is this new? Are we truly seeing an uptick in the violence? Or is it just we have the phones, and these things are going to happen? Where is the disrespect coming from? And who's responsible for trying to solve this problem? Is it, these kids need to get it together? Their parents need to get it together? Is it underfunded schools? Is it too many police, too little police? Is it policing in general? I was trying to get San Francisco Board of Supervisor Safai on the show. We were this close, but he got caught up in a number of committee meetings, so he wasn't able to come on the show today because he's been calling for more funding for policing. And I'm going to ask you in the comments, is that the sole answer? I kind of feel like on one hand, we need policing. On the other hand, that's not and can't be the only answer. It just can't. So we'll discuss that. We will, of course, delve into that hurricane-like weather system that moved in. It's actually a weather phenomenon that meteorologists geek out on. And so I'll show you some video, and you guys, I know, let me know in the comments how bad it was where you were. Picking my son up from school yesterday. It's quite the experience. I'll talk about that. One of my favorite foods. I'm going to put food in quotes, but I eat a lot of it. I know, and it's terrible for me. Well, it might get banned, and I don't know how I feel about that, and how I feel about the fact that I've been eating so much of this type of food, and yet now it's going to get banned. Clark Reed is going to join us in about a half hour or so with some tech news. We'll include TikTok. I will also include what I wished were real images, but they're fake images of former President Donald Trump being arrested. The TikTok news, there's a hearing tomorrow. And I know not a lot of you possibly, but maybe some of you use TikTok. What's it going to mean if a major social media company is actually banned? And should we really weigh national security concerns against capitalism? Basically, a lot of these people make a lot of dough on a social platform like TikTok. And what is the alternative for them? And then we're going to get into driving. So Dick Van Dyke, 97 years old. He's going to have to retake his DMV test. Should there be a limit on how old you can be to drive? Or is it just testing? You know what? You still have all your faculties. Your reflexes are good. You can keep your license. And I want to add the caveat, if you say there should be an age limit, how as a society do we function? I mean, we already know the sandwich generation, people taking care of kids and their older parents. Now you want to take the keys away from the older parents so they completely depend on you? We've talked about public transportation. I'm trying to get a Mercury News reporter on for tomorrow because the numbers, the ridership predictions for BART to San Jose, not looking that good. And so what does that mean if public transportation isn't up to snuff, if it's not in all the locations, and yet we want to take the car keys from grandma and grandpa? That could be a tall order. So again, before we get into all of that, please click the thumbs up button. We absolutely love it. And honestly, we are 100% crowdfunded on the Nikki Medoro Show. We just are. We depend on you guys. I've received your emails. I have a bunch of emails to send out today. And so if you could help donate, whether it's through the super chat, which is under the live chat box. There's a $sign there. You guys can throw some money my way. Obviously, I share it with Kim. Also, please consider donating to our Patreon, because that, in addition to the donations you make to YouTube through the super chat feature, that's how we're making money now. And I'd love to keep the show going like this, grow it or expand it in different ways. And again, email me as well, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. If there's something more that you want to do. I just received a great email, actually through Patreon. And my Patreon link is at thenikkimedoroshow.com, saying how she loves how much I talk about not just the Bay Area, but San Jose, which is my hometown, which is where I am right now. Because a lot of Bay Area shows, even though they touch on the South Bay and the East Bay and what have you, it's very San Francisco focused sometimes. And I'm here in my hometown, and I love to cover things all over the place. But if there's something you want me to cover, Calvin, you're an awesome default producer, sends me stories, but you guys can do the same. And again, there's the email, thenikkimedoroshow at gmail.com. And you could use that if you want to donate through Patreon. And then, of course, we have merchandise, the Nikki Medoro Shop.com is where you do that as well. And I just really appreciate the community that we've created on here, and I want to keep it going. And I would hate for it to change. Okay. So I was with my daughter the other day, and we were driving around, and we drove past a school that we drive past all of the time. And I'm not going to mention it, but it's in San Jose. Excuse me, I'm freezing my ass off. I need hot coffee. And it's just like, I heard that school is ghetto. Now, ghetto is a term I don't particularly like. I think that it has, I think it has racial and socioeconomic undertones that, for one, weren't true. And two, I mean, we're in San Jose where you hard pressed to find a house under $1 million. So stop telling me, child, that you are driving past or through the ghetto. Now, are there places where crime is higher? Of course. Okay. But pointing to a school filled with kids and calling it ghetto didn't sit right with me. And so I was sitting with her, and I asked her, why would you say that school is ghetto? What is it? She's like, well, I've heard stories. I heard that somebody was stabbed there. And I was like, what? It surprised me because, one, I follow the news, right? I'm in the news. I follow these sorts of things. I hadn't heard about a stabbing at a school recently, I guess. Then there's always these threats and things like that. And she's like, yeah, but I think that it was the parents, because they searched the house and they found drugs and guns and all sorts of things. Let me welcome Kim McAllister, who's been a very busy woman, just hopped over from the Mark Thompson show.
Hi.
So I'm sharing a story where I was with my daughter and we were driving past a school in San Jose that I'm not going to name and she said, I heard that school is ghetto. Okay. And I was kind of scratching the surface beneath that and being like, one, do you even know what ghetto is? Like, we're living in an area, $1 million+ homes. Ghetto, I would not call it. Now, obviously, areas where they have more crime, those sorts of things are true. But ghetto, I just feel like it has a stereotype that is not true. And so I asked her why. And she says, I heard there was a stabbing there the other week. And I was like, And she's like, and kids are just always fighting over there and doing all those sorts of things. And I go, what is going on with your generation? Kind of like what we've been talking about this week, Kim, where this is not normal. The violence that we see, all of these sorts of things. And she's just like, well, when they went to the house of the kids that got stabbed, the parents had guns and drugs and they got arrested too. So here's my question. When we see videos like this, and I'm going to show you this one video, and I'm going to preface this by saying that there is some foul language because it's cell phone video of a fight at Stonestown Galleria. Okay, now here we go. Watch this video. And look at these kids. So you get it.
Is that in the middle of Target?
That's in the middle of Target. Now, what do you see? I see one guy just getting the living crap beat out of him, right? Definitely was targeted. And then there was this this news report by Betty Yu with KPIX. And I want to play you a little bit of it because she was interviewing this one young lady who went to high school with some of these students, right? I want to play you what she was saying because it is so telling of what kids are going through right now. So here is, and again, I want to say thank you to Betty Yu with KPIX for this report.
It happened again because they were messing around and they threw a bottle of milk at me and my mom when we were walking by.
SFPD did not
things.
Hold on, here we go.
See if somebody.
This fight broke out at Target, where a mall security guard can be seen right in the middle of the chaos.
I feel like I'm always watching over my back to see if I will like mess with the wrong people. I'm always careful about what I say. If I know that they're friends with the people that are involved in those things, I guard what I say. I don't really feel safe at school.
Washington High freshman Dominica Martinez said Stonestown is the go-to hangout spot for students after school. In fact, she was here Friday after this mob attack at Target. Video shows one student picking up the victim and slamming him to the ground.
I did see the police talking to the kids in the video that you showed me, and they were, the fact is, like, it didn't even look like they regretted it because it's obviously going to happen again because they were messing around and they threw a bottle of milk at me and my mom when we were walking by.
So there you go. So these kids are targeting. A mall cop or a mall security was trying to intervene. But did you hear she's a freshman in high school? She's a freshman in high school. So she's gone from middle school. And she says it even starts in middle school. I have to watch what I say. I have to look behind my back. You know, what is the problem here? And so that is my question is, I had mentioned before I brought you on, Kim, I was trying to get San Francisco Board of Supervisor Safai on the show because he's been calling for more police funding, more police. San Francisco is 500 officers short of what it needs. And so then it was, unfortunately, he had a bunch of committee meetings, so he wasn't able to come on. But in interviews, he is saying we need more police and we need to support our police. But is that a knee-jerk reaction to a problem that is much deeper and ingrained than that? Because that's what I'm thinking is, where are the after-school programs? Where are the people watching these kids?
Well, these are freshmen. So I'll speak from experience for a moment because Target is right across the street. Well, a little ways, but very near my children's school.
Okay.
And my daughter's in 8th grade. And so it's a kind of a moment where you let them have a little more independence, right? So she and her buddies like to go to the library, which is right across the street from Target, after school. And sometimes they'll go over to Target. So they'll go to Target, maybe buy something, goof around for a minute, stop at the little coffee place, and then head to the library and get their homework done.
Right.
One day, it was told to me after the fact that the scuttlebutt at school was that a 6th grader was going to get jumped and this fight was going to happen behind Target. And so parents were upset. They went to collect their children that they had allowed to, wander by themselves over to Target after school. Someone called the school because it happened off campus. The school called the police and nothing ever happened.
Why?
Okay, but nothing ever happened as far as the fight didn't take place, I think, because of that intervention. Okay. But this isn't the first time that I've heard of something like this, because the new thing is, and I don't know if this is a new thing or something that has always happened, but the new thing is kids getting jumped. And Julia, my 8th grader, said, and she goes to a smaller school, a charter school. Okay. She said, Mom, if I went to Petaluma Junior High, which is the bigger, main junior high in town, if I went to the junior high, Mom, I'd get jumped and I'd have to learn how to fight back. I'm like, no. And my thought to her was, that's super tacky. We don't fight. You're not getting involved in that. Right?
It's tacky to fight. It's tacky.
That's not how we are. That's not what we do. No.
She was at a school and there were people being, fighting around her.
But Mom, what if I get jumped? Then what am I supposed to do? And so she has to think about it because people are getting jumped and kids are getting beaten up. And so she's thinking, okay, well, what if it happens to me? Then what? Right. And that's the same thing as the girl in the video, Dominica, who was saying, I don't feel safe at school. Right? And so kids are having to think about how to fight back. What would I do if I was attacked? That shouldn't be the way our schools are being run. Right. That there's a threat of, someone grabbing you from behind, or as the girl in the video said, throwing milk at you as you walk, past the milk aisle, whatever it is. Why are kids so much more violent today? And I think they are more violent. Yes, there were fights in the past. Yes, there have always been dust-ups at school and rivalries and whatever, but not just random attacks of people.
Well, I mean, but is that true? I mean, again, or is it the phone, the video, the social media culture that we live in? Because let me go to some of the comments. Chris writes in, ghetto culture is now mainstream. This was happening in the projects in the 60s. Lori says, ghetto is like urban, where the underlying meaning is low economic plus non-white people. What does ghetto mean to your daughter? I suspect it's crime and drugs and possibly gangs. You're absolutely right. When I asked her that exact question, what do you mean ghetto? Because she doesn't know what a ghetto is, right? You don't know what the projects are. You live in San Jose. Give me a break, right? But yeah, it was exactly that, Lori. You're right. It was, there was somebody got jumped and then they found weapons and drugs inside the parents' home. Chris also writes in, they just didn't have video games or video cameras, in their pockets in the 60s. Exactly.
I would agree with that, and maybe it is just that we're seeing the video evidence of it now, but I think I'm also hearing more about it. Not that I was around in the 60s, I wasn't, but not born yet, but I know that there have always been some fights, but to the degree and to the level we're seeing them now,
we don't know. I mean, obviously you don't know because you can't put it in any sort of context because we didn't have the ability to track it like that. Red writes in, controlling behavior externally is always more difficult than intrinsically. Our society needs to value and actively support people developing personal responsibility and a commitment to community. I also think there's a lack of consequence. I mean, it's really easy to sit there and be like, well, find all the kids and contact their parents, and then their parents are going to do something. Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
If you were a parent in San Francisco, no matter what high school your kid went to, and you saw a video of that brawl, or maybe even you knew that was happening and the kids were involved from your kid's school, first thing, you're no longer allowed to go to the Stonestown Mall after school. First thing. For
how long? That's the number one hangout for everybody. Are you going to just
don't care? If this is what happens there, it's not a safe place for you.
True.
So either number one, you're involved in all of this and that stops now. Or number two, you're going there and this is happening there and it's an unsafe place for you. So no, the answer is no, you can't go. You'll find another place with your friends to go that's safe.
Don't you ever feel like when Kim's talking, you're the child? Like when she talks, no, Nikki, you're not going. And I go, okay, Kim, I'm not ever going to go.
No, the answer is no. I'm sorry, but you'll not be allowed to go to Stonestown.
I know what Julia and Jacob feel like. You're like, and the answer is
no. Do I do that to you? I'm sorry.
No. It's just the voice that you're using. I love it. No, I do not apologize because I don't think that enough parents would ever do what you're doing, Kim. I think they would say, well, when you go back to the mall, be careful.
No.
Right?
No, are you kidding me? You want your kid in the middle of that zoo?
Well, okay. So let me play, and I agree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. At what point do you stop protecting your child from all locations where trouble can arise? Because you're going to start cutting out a lot of different places versus if you see that, run the other way, stay the hell away from it, which is kind of the message that I give my kids. It's like, look, if there's a fight, you go and tell somebody. You do not watch. You obviously don't get involved, but you have to tell these kids. They are quicker to pull out their damn cell phone and videotape it than to do something to help the person that's getting jumped, even if they know that it's wrong. And we need to empower our kids to do that.
I think the kids that are taping it are as equally liable as the ones that are throwing punches, because you don't sit there and do nothing and tape it so that you have something to show, so that you look at all this, and then that furthers this whole culture of let's jump each other and beat each other and hurt people. No. And no, yes, I would say tell my children, run the other way if something like this breaks out. But the minute I know that this is a trouble spot, you're not even going there. Absolutely not. It's like there's a threat at high school.
Like, are you going to send your kid to school?
Are you going to send your kid to school? I'm certainly not sending them into a place that's unsafe.
Wes writes in, have you seen how adults act on planes and in restaurants? These are the parents of those kids. True. I mean, I can make up a million different reasons on why a kid isn't facing consequences. The parents are working 2 jobs. The parents were raised in a certain way, so they don't see anything wrong with it, right? I mean, if you were raised in kind of a more violent household, you might not say anything wrong. Yeah, you're gonna get jumped at the mall. Watch your ass, right? Some people just think that way. Cheryl writes in, I went to school in the 60s. My school was huge from 7th to 12th grade. I don't remember ever any fights or jumping. There was some discrimination, but nothing ever physical. It's different now. Okay. Do you mind, Cheryl, adding where you were in school? Because also, I mean, not that it's ghetto, but just location matters. Let's just say it that way. Kim writes in, you are a responsible parent, Kim. Too many parents out there will not hear that their little prince or princess is causing problems. Excellent, excellent point, Kim. I've told you this story on how a bunch of kids came up to my car with my kids inside of it from my daughter's school. I thought that they were kidding. Like, I knew some of these kids from when they were very little.
Right.
And they were like, they weren't being insulting to me. They were like, they were talking about, did you hear so-and-so was dating? Were you hearing, like, implying that something sexual was going on with other kids that I know? And it was like within a heartbeat of a conversation because I was pulling out. But the fact that they felt comfortable coming up to me as an adult and honestly talking to me in a very disrespectful way, it blew my mind a little bit. It really, really did. And I just don't know how we can change the behavior of children now. What do we have to do? And I think it really goes to improving schools. I do understand that there needs to be a rule for police. San Francisco does need, obviously, more police officers if you're 500 short. San Jose has the same exact freaking problem. We are way short of police officers. So obviously people that are committing lower level crimes are like, we'll get away with it. There's nobody around to stop us. But if we gave kids the support, the counseling, the after school programs, right? Something to keep them on campus where we could watch them and pay teachers enough to want to stay, it could help. Jennifer says, we all had a butterfly knife or something similar if you got cornered in the bathroom or the lockers. Wow.
Scary.
Okay, so Cheryl was from Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. Maybe that is what, I don't know. I don't know anything about that area. But again, and then there's this whole urban aspect of it. Hey, you're in San Francisco. You're in the city. You don't think fights are going to happen? I mean, of course fights happen. Not to kind of bring up fake worlds, but the West Side Story, right? I mean, these things, it's not as if fights between different gangs and groups are anything new. I'm not saying that.
Joe Blow says we need to bring back the paddle at schools. Well, that is not true. I do agree with Julie that stricter consequences, that those kids need to be banned from the Galleria for 5 years.
How do you do that? Logistically, though, Julie, how do you ban somebody? I mean, do you have...
You got their picture. Security knows who you are. You say, no, thank you.
Security hard enough time with the people that are allowed inside the mall. Now they're going to scan faces. I mean, this honestly... and again, we're going to talk to Clark Reed in about 10 minutes with some tech news. This could be a place for AI, but how comfortable would you be if your little picture was put into AI? So every time you entered the mall, and there'd be disclosures, like when you enter the mall, you're going to be on camera, which you are.
But there are already places doing that. I mean, that's not, that wouldn't be new, right?
And you're fine with that. Your kids being in, no, but like your kids and their profile being in a computer just in case they get banned.
Even, if they're going to that mall, their likeness is probably already on whatever scanning technology that is used at the airport and on cameras around cities and whatever else. So, I mean, yeah, I do. And if they were involved in that type of melee, then I think they would deserve to be banned from the mall. And I would support their picture being put up and saying, don't let Julia in. She's a trouble causer.
I doubt that would ever happen.
Well, no.
Donald says, I think that we're seeing a breakdown in appropriate role models. My take is since 45 took office and subsequently his unlawful actions, plus GOP Congress folks with similar morals leads to what we see. I mean, we can go that far. Absolutely. I do think there's a lack of consequences for kids because they see a lack of consequences for adults and adults in power, right? If it's your side, oh, it's okay. And if it's not, you're like, it's not okay. It's awful. Wes says if they're banned from the mall and then caught there, it's a trespass and then the law gets involved. After that, some parents will perk up, many will not. I also think parents need to be held more responsible for the behavior of their children. I think that if your child is getting in fights, if your child is truant, if your child is involved in even a misdemeanor crime, parents need to be held accountable. Now, I'm not saying throw them in jail because that also creates a breakdown of the family even farther, which is not a solution, but counseling, something that is required to make parents be like, look, I ain't going through all that. You need to stay home. You need to, keep your nose clean and that sort of thing.
Well, and I think once you know that your child has been involved in a fight,
right,
unless they were the one jumped from, no fault of their own, you have to ask, why are you fighting? Why are you angry? Did this person do something to wrong you? Did someone else bully you where you're having these anger issues? Like, let's figure it out. Because until you do that, you're just going to have an angry teen who's going to grow into an angry adult. That's not the kind of society we want. We got to fix this.
Yeah. And I do think social media, Ren writes in, have made things worse. I think that there is this, oh, did you see it online? It's going to be online. But I like this comment from Murphy. She says there's a Safeway near our middle school in a very safe neighborhood, but the principal tells parents, tell your kids not to hang out there. Nothing good happens at Safeway right after school. And I love that you brought this up because that's what I'm talking about. Kids want a place to go after school. If we live in a society where parents work 2 jobs, maybe nobody's home for a little bit until like maybe 5 o'clock, the kids, idle hands, right? Unless they have something to do, they'll find something to do. And unfortunately, too many of these kids think that the Stonestown Galleria or some other place is now their de facto babysitter, and they're going to get in trouble. I wouldn't let a bunch of kids hang out in my house unsupervised. Why would I want those same kids going to a mall unsupervised if I don't trust their behavior? I mean,
and I think that's the key. Do you trust their behavior?
Right.
Because as I mentioned, I will let my 13-year-old daughter go to the library and do homework. I hope that that's what they're doing. It seems okay so far. Go to the library and do homework with classmates or wander over to Target, because I don't want her to be one of those kids who gets to college age and is not able to fend for herself, who has never been, out in the world to a store by herself, paying for things by herself, having that independence that allows them to form as a, full adult. So I want her to have those experiences and I want her to do those things. But the minute it starts looking ugly like that, you're right. The library is not a babysitter.
No,
so
it's not.
You can't handle yourself. If you can't handle yourself, then that freedom is taken from you.
Absolutely. Joe Box writes in, we used to have problems with kids fighting inside and in front of our cafe, but beat cops have dramatically reduced issues. Other cafes that have banned teens get their windows broken and graffiti. Good. And that is where police, if you see police everywhere, they'll just move on. I mean, that's just what happens. But and it's to go back, it's not just the kids. There's a bar down the street from my house. Great bar. They do, sporting events. A lot of the neighborhood parents like to go there for a drink on the weekends. They just remodeled their bathroom. So now we're talking about adults going to this place. It's a bar. Okay. They remodeled their bathroom, and within a week there was graffiti and all kinds of damage to the men's bathroom. Now, these are adults. This is what I'm talking about. There are kids that are growing up to be adults that are disrespectful, that damage things, that are violent. And if we don't get it together quickly, we're just growing a whole nother generation of the same type of friggin' people. And it's a problem. Calvin says, I track my kids' phones so they don't go places after school they're not allowed to go. I know exactly where my kids are. And my kid, like my son, sometimes he'll go to McDonald's or he'll go to like Starbucks or something after school, but then he just comes home. My son usually comes from home right after school. Then my daughter, she's either in the play or she has tutoring or she has cheerleading. I try to keep my kids busy, not too busy because I do believe in downtime, but yeah, I know where my kids are after school. And I also have these conversations with my kids all of the time, which I think also some parents may not be doing enough Talk to your kids. Why are you angry? What is going on in your school? I've mentioned, there's some kids, and especially amongst boys. I don't have the tallest boy child, right? And he's not going to be. And I talk to him about it all of the time, and he feels like he could stand up for himself if anybody, kind of stepped to him. But I also look at him, I'm like, running away is always an option, my friend. You know what I mean? Like, getting yourself out of the situation is always an option, but it's scary. And my kids don't go to a quote unquote ghetto or any type of school, but these things are happening everywhere, it seems like. And that's scary. It's really, really scary, and I don't like it at all. All right. Well, and if I ever get, and he wants to come on, he just wasn't able to do it today, Supervisor Safai or another board of supervisors to talk about this. But the problem isn't, just centered in San Francisco. It's not a San Francisco problem. It's not a Bay Area problem. It is a problem with our kids, honestly, all across this country. I firmly believe that kids are just angry right now. They're not being watched over enough in every aspect. Not all kids, not all places, but these stories seem to be growing. And I don't care if it's social media or not, we have to do something about it. All right. When we come back after Kim's news, Clark Reed is going to join us. He, obviously came from Station X, KGO. He's going to be talking about some tech news. I have some fabulous pictures to show that aren't real. We just kind of wish they were. We'll also touch on TikTok. There's a huge hearing happening tomorrow because there are some people that want to ban TikTok in the United States, but there's a huge contingent of influencers, small business owners that depend on a platform like TikTok to make ends meet. And that is their source of revenue. And so do we just say tough luck? Make do another way? What should we actually do? And I don't know how many of you use TikTok or not, but it's something to keep in mind, similar to traditional newspaper advertising, transitioning over to Craigslist and then, moving completely online. Change happens. And maybe that kind of change happens here as well on TikTok. But we have to take a look at some news, some headlines, and all of that. Plus, Clark Reed is next on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report could be sponsored by you. If you would like to sponsor any segment of the Nikki Medoro Show, including the news or a half hour or a full hour, whatever it may be, give us an email. Send us an email. Talk about that. It is the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. And let's get to the news because here we go again. Interest rates are on the rise. The Federal Reserve hiked interest rates today by 1/4 point, despite concerns over the banking system. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said inflation remains too high and the labor market is very tight. He said the work to get inflation down to the central bank's 2% goal has a long way to go. It is likely to be very bumpy. A New York City grand jury is not working on the case today as originally planned, involving a possible indictment against former President Donald Trump. The grand jurors were reportedly told not to come in, but to be ready to hear evidence in the case on Thursday. It involves Trump and alleged money paid to adult film actress Stormy Daniels right before Trump was elected president, and that was in 2016. So again, the grand jury not meeting today, and it remains to be seen if we'll have any movement on this case at all this week. There was kind of a thought that there might be, and now we don't know. So we'll keep our eyes on what's going on there. Let's get to East Palestine, Ohio, where the CEO of Norfolk Southern is being grilled by lawmakers after the toxic train derailment that happened there last month. During testimony before a Senate panel, CEO Alan Shaw said he supported many parts of a proposed rail safety bill, but stopped fully short of endorsing the legislation. Shaw also dodging questions on which part of the bill the company did not support. So you support the bill, you don't support the bill, something needs to be done. You're not ready to say exactly what. Senator Ted Cruz is pressing a constitutional amendment that would permanently cap the United States Supreme Court at 9 justices. In a statement, the Texas Republican says the court should be independent and not inflated by every new administration. The proposal would need ratification by the states in order to cap it at the current 9 justices. Get ready to say sayonara, sucker, to the current version of the Chevy Camaro. That is because General Motors is stopping production of it early next year. It comes as GM is pursuing an electric vehicle strategy. This report could be sponsored by you, and this show is crowdfunded by you. We need it. Tell me that you support us by clicking the like button right now. That is free. And if you want to contribute financially, well, we'll take that too. You can do that at thenikkimedoroshow.com. That's where you'll find the Patreon and the PayPal links. And you can also send us a super sticker and click the heart button with the little $sign through it here on YouTube. Lots of ways to contribute, and we're very grateful for anything. Even for you just being here today. As a matter of fact, I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. And yes, thank you for mentioning all the ways you guys can support the show. We appreciate it. All right, so let's get into some tech news by welcoming the one and only Clark Reed.
Hey.
Clark Reed.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing good, Clark.
Good,
a lot of tech news today.
Yeah, there is.
So can we start, though, with something that we really wanted to be true?
Wherever you want.
Okay, there was a bunch of AI images that came out. I want to show some of them. Can I show some of them that we kind of wish were true? So here's one.
Yeah.
And here's another one. Here's another one. These are not real images of Donald Trump being arrested, but we wish that they were. What's the story behind these pictures?
Okay, there are a number of new systems that can use AI to make fake pictures like these. These actually were done using a product called Midjourney version 5. The fellow that made them did not watermark them, but he noted that they were all, fakes and what have you. And and he just told the AI what he wanted, and it made these pictures up. Now, by yesterday, he'd gotten 2.2 million views on Twitter, just on Twitter, of these pictures, which is awesome. So
I can imagine. I mean, AI seems to. How freaked out are you about AI and what it's going to be doing, not just to our workforce?
Just somewhat. Oh, by the way, read the hat. This has to do with the individual one.
Yes, exactly. But AI, I mean, those pictures look amazing.
Yeah.
It seems like AI is just ramping up very quickly. And I feel like security is going to obviously lag behind the technology.
Of course. And we talked today about Bill Gates. Bill Gates put out a blog post yesterday because of, Chat GPT, which Microsoft is using, and now the Bard, which Google has released a limited release, which I can't get because my Google Mail, my Gmail, is a commercial account. So I can have several emails, and you can only have an individual account. So they said, nope, come back later, Okay. So I'm going to try that out when they allow it, but so far, no dice. At any rate, Gates had apparently asked these people that built ChatGPT to build him, an AI that would take the the advanced placement biology exam.
Oh.
And he thought it'd take him a couple of years, right? And it took him several months. It scored 59 out of 60 on multiple choice and aced the open-ended questions. Gates was just blown away. He says he believes that AI now is going to be the biggest thing since the graphical user interface for computers. So it is a big deal. When a guy like Gates, goes there, it's like, this is really a big deal.
I was talking to Jason Middleton yesterday, and he said,
I saw that and heard it. Yes.
Yeah, he was saying this is industrial revolution kind of stuff. Like this is the next thing.
I am afraid that that's correct. And again, not just talking about, our business where they are, they'll let a voiceover talent talk for like about 5 or 10 minutes, record it, play it into the AI, and then they can steal your voice and it can read any commercial or, read a book or whatever you might say in your voice. Sounding like you, which is just
weird,
freaky.
I mean, is this a case sense of like we can, but we shouldn't. Like what is the? I know this sounds stupid. This is going to be a kind of a dumb question, but why do we need this? I mean, what is it? It seems like it's just going to make us obsolete. Yeah. So why are we?
You don't need it. It's I mean, it's kind of been the excuse the expression wet dream of management in a lot of businesses. I was around before you were born, Kim, because I'm old, and in the 60s, it was the great dream of some general managers. This is before all of the great big companies took over radio and TV. But you can only have 7 a.m. and 7 FM. But they love the thought of automation. My first job was a newsman, and I did the news twice an hour and all of that. But then my other job was to load tape cartridges into this clanking, steam-powered, damned automation system. It had great, huge reels on it, and it played tapes of the disc jockeys, so to speak, and then played the commercials, and it screwed up all the time. This is awful, but one of the disc jockeys, Jim Olsen, like the guy in Superman, he was dead, and they were still sending his tapes around to different stations and playing them. Hey, it's a wonderful day in our town today. And it's like, Jim, you're 6 feet underground. What do you mean? I mean, and so this has been a dream of some people in management forever. And this is just another step on that.
Jobs, though? I mean, this is the thing. And when I say us, I mean human beings. If AI and somebody was saying, oh, it's going to take care of a lot of the menial tasks, I think it's going to take over more than just menial tasks.
Oh, yes, it is. No, it's not going to just be menial tasks. And that is a scary thing.
It can write code.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it can.
So you've got high-paying jobs where there's developers and software engineers.
Yeah, you have six-figure income people, that could be displaced by this AI. It's not just grunt workers. It's a scary deal.
I mean, I guess you still need one person to tell it what to do, but everybody else, you're out.
And then do you foresee, and I know this is looking in the crystal ball a bit, but I mean, do you feel like there is going to be some sort of regulation on this type of technology at all? Or is it just the cat in the bag and you can't control it now?
I don't think there's going to be until pitchfork and torches time, frankly.
Is it pitchfork and torches time?
Yeah, I think until people get angry, and descend on like the Congress and what have you to make them, say, hey, we have to have a guaranteed annual income because this is putting like half the country out of work. We're coming for you, Elon. We're going to take all your money and your stock and your cars and burn you to the ground. Come on, guys.
It's scary.
It is a very scary deal. And I think that it is industrial revolution. I think that's kind of what Bill Gates was saying in his blog post in a way. It's a very big deal.
And it's moving
bigger than he thought it was going to be. And he's got a pretty damn big brain. So, I mean,
It's true. I don't know. You're kind of freaking me out a little bit, Clark. This whole thing is a bit much. And it's as if we're doing it to ourselves, even though we know what's happening.
Yeah. I'm freaked out too. I mean, I filled in for a friend this morning, and he and I were chatting, on a video call, just like now in between everything. And, I was doing traffic in his newscasts, and we're talking about this. And the traffic, I don't know if they could teach it to understand all that well to do traffic reports, but the newscasts, they're already doing that to an extent. They're not good. I mean, it's terrible, but
But it doesn't have any personality to it.
Well, not only that, but you can teach it to write, like sports stories, within a format, or kind of heavily formatted stuff.
Right.
But you can't really. It has no intuition, and it's got no brains. It's ones and O's, folks.
How do you teach it to have news sense? That's important to know what stories are important to the people who are listening and who are,
there's search results, Kim.
Okay, Kim, was it you that was talking about, or did I read this someplace? No, I heard it this morning. They asked the AI, okay, if 3 cars, can drive from San Francisco to LA in, 7.5 hours, how long does it take 6 cars? And the AI said twice as long.
Oh.
Because it doesn't understand the context.
Right.
But you could program context, can't you?
Eventually, yes. Eventually you can do that. Yes.
Yeah. It's
just a matter of time and trouble. Absolutely. So
okay, let's move on. Get out of this depressing idea.
Get out of this total downer of a topic.
Thanks a lot. Clark.
Let's talk a bit about Amazon. There's a couple of headlines surrounding Amazon right now, correct?
Amazon is they released a new set of TVs today, that the high dollar ones that are up to 72 inches and all that jazz with built-in fire and the high def and everything, and they're all great. They start at $4.99. You can special order them today, pre-order. But then they announced a new cheap line of Fire TVs that start at $199, and they're HD only. They aren't the 4K and all that kind of thing. But $199 for a TV with built-in fire is a pretty damn good deal, and they're pre-orderable today, and they're going to be available starting. When did I say? Hold on here a minute. May 11th.
May 11th. You know what pisses me off, Clark? And I don't know if there's a solution to this that I'm just missing. I can't stream Apple TV to my, I guess it's a dumb television.
Yeah.
Is there a like some sort of
like a Fire Stick? No, not that I know of.
For Apple, right? I mean, I have to watch Apple TV. It feels like on my computer or my phone. I can't stream it to my
have
television.
it because I had to replace my stinking TV 2 or 3 years ago because some third-party software that the company Samsung, it so happened, was using quit making it. And so I wasn't able to stream anything. So I had to buy a new dang TV, which made me mad. But now I can stream Apple and Amazon and Netflix and everything on there, which is really nice. I just punch the little button and there it is. And I can watch it on the big TV.
How big of a television did you buy, Clark?
It's only like a 45-incher. I'm in a small townhouse, which I like. I mean, I had the house on the acre of land with the riding mower and all that, and the pool. And it's like, I'm done with all that high maintenance crap. Excuse my language. We pay HOA fees and they come around and they blow the leaves and they rake the land, and they cut the grass. It's like, I don't do any of that anymore. I'm done, man. I did my time for years. So, hey.
Well, good for you. Amazon also has a palm reader in Panera.
Palm print time.
Have you done this before?
I have not done the palm. I've seen it and seen video of it. I have not done it. But Panera Bread, which I like, which has good food, has been road testing at a couple of restaurants back in St. Louis, the Amazon palm reading software, Amazon One. And apparently works well enough. They're going to install it in a number of stores in the St. Louis area and then in Seattle. And then they're going to eventually get to at least 20 stores this year. And you register your palm print and you just go in, you hold your palm over the reader and it's a just walk out thing.
Wow.
Ever since I started, because I was way behind on doing the whole tap thing with the card, I always was inserting and doing all that crap. Now, ever since then, now I feel like, are you just going to slip into just using your palm? What is the goal of this technology? Is it just to speed things up? Is that really just it?
Yeah, it's to make it so that it's, as they say, it's less sticky to buy things. It's less sticky. There's less frictionless buying. They want you to just be able to, load up the cart, buy junk, and leave, which some people have no problem with anyway. My sister was taking a friend who doesn't get around as well. She's had her knees replaced and took her shopping, and this woman loaded up the basket, wasn't paying any attention. Got some fake flowers. She's going to replace all of the flower arrangements in her house, which is cool. Yeah. Gets to the checkout, $150 worth of fake flowers. She goes, "What? Oh my God, I'm not paying that." And so for some people, this is really going to be bad because they're going to load up the basket like this lady did.
Yep,
run
exactly.
Their hand.
That's the whole cash register stuff that you.
The whole idea is just to is to make you forget how much stuff costs and get you to spend more, and you're on your merry way, and they've got all your money.
I have a technical question. What is it about your palm? Is it do they put something on your palm? Is it your palm print? What is it that knows?
It reads the print and it reads the veins and arteries in your hand and stuff too. It's much harder to fake it. Yeah, it's much harder to fake than just a fingerprint or a handprint.
So you do have to touch it. Heather was asking. You have to touch it.
But it's not just the swirls. It's the underlying physiology. That's the thing that makes it so amazing.
Oh, that's so weird. So
I don't know.
What if someone killed me and cut off my hand?
Well,
Could they then walk around paying for stuff?
Yeah, well, it'd be like the movie. Do you remember the Demolition Man with Sly Stone? Where he was frozen and everything, and then they let him out to capture this heinous criminal. The guy takes out the
eyeball and it goes in there. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, that's
good movie reference, Clark. Absolutely.
Pretty scary stuff. But that kind of, in a way, predicted. I hope that didn't predict this, but it could, I suppose.
I mean, I think that doesn't it just as with your face? Don't you have to be alive? I mean, just to answer, not to kind of crazy, but there has to be like blood flowing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yes, exactly.
Things would collapse in your hands, so then they would know.
I think
she's dead.
This is what Apple has built into their Face ID. Is a lot of times you look at the thing and I find that, you have to blink or move your head a little bit or something because it really goes for the eyes. Apple has admitted this, but if you don't blink your eyes or open your eyes a little wider or something, and they did this purposely so that you couldn't just knock somebody out and get into their phone or kill them and get into their phone.
Jeez Louise, this got dark real quickly. All right.
It's taking a dark turn on the Nikki Medoro Show.
This is a scary segment, man. I don't know where we're going with this.
What happens if they chop off my body parts to get to my head?
That's just Kim. She's watched The Last of Us, Clark, and so now she's just all
what she's done to me?
You know what I mean? That's
it's
all
the truth.
And by the way, harking back to the days before you, Kim, they were jumping people back in the 60s and stuff.
Oh, they were?
School. Oh, yeah. I'll tell run on short on time. Tell you a really quick story from a former customer in the car business who came in and really this story. My dad and I, his daughter went to a high school I'll just name it, in Wichita, Kansas. Not a terrible school. My ex-dad-in-law went there, but they had the old building that was really old, and then they had a covered tunnel to the new addition because it gets cold as hell there in the wintertime and snows. And this daughter of his, and this is back in the olden days when they had dress codes, right? She's walking through the tunnel, and kids were known to do this in this high school. They would pull up a girl's dress and try to pants her in the tunnel. And they did this to Bill's daughter. Mm-hmm. Wrong.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about our customer, Bill. Bill had taught Kung Fu for 22 years.
Uh-oh.
Daughter was working on a black belt. 3 boys went to the hospital, and 2 of them were just, she mopped the floor, and he was delighted, of course. Not that they pulled up her dress, but she just beat the crap out of all of them.
See? And that's why you have to teach Julia self-defense, so she could beat the crap out of boys that try to pants her.
And I thought that's going to be the last time those boys ever try that nonsense again in their life, man. She just wiped them out.
Okay, Clark, before we let you go, I want to get into TikTok. TikTok has a big hearing tomorrow. Its CEO, I believe, is coming to Washington. They don't want to be banned in the U.S. What is the whole story surrounding this?
Well, I think the whole banning thing is preposterous. I don't think they can do it, but he's going to announce that they now have 200 million users in the United States, which is way more than anybody thought. And they're going to fight this, and they're going to say you can't really do this. They've already spent millions of dollars moving servers, out of China and into America and everything. But boy, there's a lot of support from both Republicans and Democrats, and you've seen it banned already on federal government phones, and Great Britain and in Europe they've banned it on government phones too. But,
so you're saying you don't think that it would even be possible to ban an app like that? Like they couldn't? Couldn't they just do Apple and all these other
Yes,
stores?
of course they can, but kids can still do what they call side load them, and get them from other than the Apple App Store or the Google Store, and load them onto their phones. So that's not always a way to get around that. They can side load stuff, and they're going to do what they want to do. Kids, it's a very popular app. They're going to want to use it, and there will be workarounds, just like there always are. But as I said in my blog, folks, if this stuff can get through, TikTok to ByteDance to the Chinese government, it's already there. Right. They've got the data. I mean, come on. The old geezers in Congress are just not thinking.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess they don't need any more of it. And I guess the thing that always concerns me is how China uses TikTok versus how it's used here and what you could see.
Oh, it's completely different. It's completely different.
They're brainwashing us. They don't look at the same TikTok that we look at.
And they're not only brainwashing, they're trying to use it to move our politics too, to influence, the political scene here.
We're letting it happen, Clark.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not good.
And here's the thing, you might think, oh, my TikTok's filled with pictures of food or me. Like, I mean, I use it. I just create little shorts to advertise the show because that's where the people are.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's what people are saying is my small business depends. I mean, not 100%, but the eyeballs I get on something like TikTok is exponentially larger than it was before without TikTok. And so that has to be playing a role in how they consider, I guess, any sort of type of ban.
Well, I don't see them being able to ban it, but they might. I mean, they're going to harumph around like politicians do, and we're protecting you. Harumph, harumph, harumph. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure. That's you
crazy.
are.
Well, check out Clark's blog, clarkreed.me. Clark, we love having you on.
Or you can just go right here on Google. You can go to Clark Reed SF.
Clark Reed SF. That's even easier.
Yeah.
Clark, we love it. We appreciate it. And we'll talk next week.
Okay. Thanks a lot. See you guys.
Bye, Clark Reed.
Bye-bye.
We love you.
I love him. TikTok and AI, those two stories kind of freak me out a little bit. AI more than anything else, though. This whole chat GPT, and it's like we create things that create problems for ourselves instead of making our lives easier. On one hand, Kim, I can go totally, Pollyanna-ish, right? We're going to create so much technology that our lives actually will start to become easier. Then the dystopian part of me is going to be like, no, we're just going to be scrounging for whatever dollar we can get because there'll still be some people that hold all of the wealth and all of everything else, and they're not going to share it with the rest of us so that we can enjoy the fruits of our technology's labor, I guess I should say. So I don't know. I mean, on one hand, get into technology, get into I guess, something higher than coding because we don't need coders apparently that much anymore. On the other hand, try to find something that can't be done by AI. I don't know. I mean, there was even a story today. If you think like something like a chef, right? They came out with like a 3D printed cheesecake today. Did you see that story? A cheesecake was created. It's kind of similar if you've ever seen homes created by robot, right? They lay out all the cement.
Sure.
They did the same thing with food and they created a cheesecake out of it. Now, I'm not saying it's going to replace every chef out there, but I think us as a society need to decide what kind of technology we support because at some point, it's going to come for all of us. It's going to come for all of our jobs. It's going to come for, what we do either for pleasure or for profit. And we're going to be asked out of a job, of everything. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Here's the difference, though, between you and maybe a programmer, which I would like to think there's some humanity behind programming as well. But with you are a human being with opinions and passion. And we can see what you're passionate about when you're talking. We can see your emotion. We can feel how much you care about stories. We can hear your laughter. We can hear when something's funny. And things happen on the show that couldn't be recreated by AI.
You don't think?
I don't think so. I mean, I would like to think there's a level of humanity that computers could never replace. Perhaps I'm naive.
I think that the technology is going to get really, really good. I think that it's just going to get so good that you won't know that it's not me sitting in front of you laughing with you. You're going to think, oh my God, that's not a human being. I mean, again, and I know these were just created by AI and they're kind of artsy fartsy, but I mean, it's not that far of a stretch. That's completely created by AI. I mean, it's not as if the technology needs to go that far to become believable.
Those pictures, by the way, fake and created by AI, in case anyone's looking at that.
Exactly. That's AI.
Yeah, that's scary. So I was just reading this story about a new partnership between OpenAI and Microsoft, and that they are now bringing generative imaging to Bing and Edge. They are incorporating into Microsoft's search engine and browser these images from OpenAI's DALL-E.
DALL-E, like Wall-E, but DALL-E?
DALL-E, yeah. It's DALL-E, DALL-E. This marks the latest addition to the wider generative artificial intelligence push from Microsoft and other tech companies, according to this article that I'm reading. So we saw the pictures that people are already creating. This this technology is going to be so common and so easy to use that all of us will be able to create those pictures. And how are we going to know what's real and what's fake? Talking about, fake news, you have real human beings on places like Fox News pushing this fake information, or stories that are not true circulating on Facebook and the internet that are not true and are swaying elections. Well, now add photographic and video evidence. I mean, I know we've had deep fakes for a while, but this is different. This is something that's going to be commonplace. Now, how are we going to discern fact from fiction in this, in this new coming era?
Exactly. Yeah. And humans can't be trusted to figure it out on their own, obviously. So yeah, I mean, it's a whole new world. And I think that, you could look at it half full or half empty, and it's easy to see it half empty a lot of the time. Now, again, tomorrow, the CEO of TikTok is going to be in Washington. And, this, I agree with Clark in a way. I don't think that we're going to be able to ban TikTok in this country, but I think there should be more regulations on it. I think there should be more regulations on social media in general. I think that there needs to be like code of conduct, code of ethics, not just leaving it up to each individual company, because come on, they're going to go for the almighty dollar. That's where their concern is. But with the influence social media can have on a mass amount of people at one time, there should be some more regulation on that. How that exactly happens, that's above my pay grade, but there should be something, and I would welcome it 100%. We don't need social media. We like social media. Social media has not been around so long that we can't live without it. It's easy. It's fun for a lot of people. It's a way to connect. It's a way to make money and start a business. And I love the fact that we have something like YouTube where we can do this show, even though we're not on radio anymore. There is plus. But I would welcome regulations. I would welcome rules. I would welcome something that makes a society better instead of worse. And anybody that doesn't is like, oh no, free speech or whatever excuse you want to give. I think you're thinking about it in the wrong way. And you're ignoring, in my opinion, human nature and human psychology and what this social media, all social media, does to us as a society. And I think we just don't put enough importance on that, and we need to. Okay, Kim's going to do some news, and then let's get into driving. Now, this can be a touchy subject. So I have a father who is, what year is it? So my dad is going to be 82 this year. My mom is going to be 72 this year. They're 10 years apart. My dad is totally fine as far as driving. His faculties are there. He works out at the gym every day. I know 82-year-olds that look 92, like in the traditional sense, right? It all matters, your genetics, how good a health and whatever. So I don't want to put everybody in this, oh, if you're a certain age, you must be a certain way, because that's not true in my life. On the other hand, 97-year-old Dick Van Dyke gets in a car accident. Some people are wondering, why the hell is he still driving? I think that's an honest question. So as to Kim's news, you guys tell me, should there be an age limit? You have to be a certain age to get a license. After a certain point, should it just be like, you can't drive anymore? I don't care how good your faculties are. And what would that mean for you in your personal life? If the people in your life that were over whatever age you're choosing as the limit can no longer drive, would you be capable of being their transportation? Because that's what we as a society also need to deal with. All right, click that thumbs up button before we go to Kim's news. It helps us out. We absolutely love it. And we'll talk driving and age limits next on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report could be sponsored by you. Email us if you're interested in talking about sponsorship opportunities at thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. Let's get right to Silicon Valley Bank. Of course, Fed Chair Jerome Powell saying today, management at Silicon Valley Bank failed badly, he said. He told reporters when speaking on the bank's recent collapse that management grew this bank very quickly and exposed it to significant liquidity and interest rate risk, and they didn't hedge that risk. He said there is no reason to believe the problems that led to SVB's downfall are systemic, calling it rather an outlier. His remarks come after the Fed raised interest rates by 0.25 percentage point in order to get a hold on inflation. At least one person is reportedly injured after a twister of some type. I thought I had a picture of it. Didn't take a picture of it. This story is wild. This is a twister that ripped through the eastern part of Los Angeles County. Cell phone video from late Wednesday morning shows a roof being torn off a building in Montebello. That's why I didn't have a picture of it, because I was going to show you a video. Okay, so let me show you this video of this twister that happened in Montebello County. I mean, this doesn't happen often in California. So when it does, I think we kind of have to give it a little look-see. But this is video courtesy of NBC4 in Southern California, and check it out. You kind of see going on in the sky there. Here comes something. Dogs are running. Water spout in Carpinteria. I don't know. I guess that's the best we're going to get out of this video, but I'll tell you the story because it's pretty interesting business. Hopefully I didn't end it too soon there. But the cell phone video from late Wednesday shows a roof being torn off a building in the town of Montebello. Reports say a so-called land spout hit several industrial buildings. A land spout, a weaker tornado that forms closer to the ground. The storm has not yet been officially classified by the National Weather Service. An urban search and rescue team is now on the ground in Montebello, California. Evacuated residents there can be seen wandering the streets because of what happened there with this this land spout. Meanwhile, the California Highway Patrol says a truck was struck by lightning. This one happened in Colusa County this week. The truck headed north on I-5 when a lightning bolt hit the rear of the cabin and worked up to the front of the truck, knocking out the driver's side mirror. The driver not hurt in all this. Of course, the truck's electrical system completely destroyed. But how often does that happen when you're driving down the road and whammo? That wild weather in the Bay Area yesterday turning deadly. This is a picture of a tree that came down in Newark right on a truck. The person in this case not killed, but that was not the case for two people that lost their lives yesterday when trees fell on their cars as well. One was a man driving home from work on a San Mateo County road, the other a passenger traveling in Walnut Creek. Of course, the storm toppled several other trees. There were 100,000 people without power at the height of this windstorm. Alameda County had the most outages, followed by San Mateo, Contra Costa, and San Francisco County. And it is going to likely be a very slow commute because of all the trees that came down. They had to shut down Highway 101 from Belmont to San Mateo because of a power line that was damaged. Highway 92 was closed in both directions near Half Moon Bay because a tree came down. 580 over the Altamont Pass, that was a retaining wall that collapsed and cracked the roadway. So that is still being repaired as well. So a lot of delays out there. Also yesterday, the wind suspended ferry service for a time. That is back on today, but it was suspended yesterday because of high winds. The ferry operator had to turn back around because the wind was just too strong. Most Amtrak trains are also running again today after one hit a tree and derailed near Martinez. Strong winds knocked over a big rig on the Bay Bridge yesterday. That caused a huge delay on Interstate 80. All lanes reopened there, but cancellations do continue this morning at San Francisco International Airport. Talking about damage, that's the Lefty O'Doul Bridge at 3rd Street in San Francisco. It was shut down last night after two barges came loose during high winds and hit it. The fire department tweeted out pictures of the damage here. The pedestrian walkway splintered in one section, you can see there. The railing is pushed out on the bridge as well. No word, though, about the roadbed or the big concrete counterweight that allows that bridge to open up to ships. So city engineers are trying to figure out what type of repairs are needed here at the Lefty O'Doul Bridge. There is a new price tag when it comes to the cost of homelessness and ending street homelessness in California. It will, in San Francisco, I should say, it will now cost almost $1 billion. We're just talking San Francisco. The updated estimate revealed during yesterday's San Francisco Board of Supervisors hearing, the city hoping to have 6,000 permanent housing units and shelter beds over the next 3 years. Elected officials, though, say that timeline is not feasible under the current fiscal and political environment. Where does San Francisco come up with an extra $1 billion for this? I don't know. I was looking for a picture but couldn't find one, so let me just tell you this story about a Chaffee County, Colorado man recovering after he was attacked by a mountain lion while he was relaxing in a hot tub. That turns out to be not so relaxing after all. Colorado Parks and Wildlife says the man felt something grab his head on Saturday night at his home near Lake Nathrop. He and his wife began splashing water on the big cat and screaming at it until it let go and moved away. But the man had scratches to his head, no other injuries, even though a mountain lion grabbed him by the noggin.
I would say the head is fine. The head is enough. No other scratches except for my head. I care about the head part. That's a lot of vital stuff right here.
Have attacked 24 Coloradans since 1990. 3 deaths in that state because of mountain lion attacks. So
it's round. It's like a ball of yarn. They're just trying to
Somebody needs to put up fencing so that, or something that the mountain lion cannot. You can't have your hot tub.
I think they can climb fencing.
You can't relax in your hot tub if you're constantly worried that the mountain lion's coming back for you.
Put a cage over it, like a shark cage.
Oh, there you go.
And that way, if they do come, you can be like, ah.
That's relaxing with a great view.
Whatever. We see through a little bit. There you go.
That is the newscast. This show is crowd-funded, and we need your support. You can find us at thenikkimedoroshow.com. That is where the Patreon link is located, the PayPal link there as well. And of course, on YouTube, there's the heart with the $sign. The super chat is live. And please, right now, everybody at 123, click that like button because we need your support. And that's a free way to support us. So we'll take all the support we can get, free or otherwise. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right. Thank you, Kim. I did want to show a couple of things because I promised, and you were doing your weather report, and I'll have a funny story in just a moment. But look at this. And I don't know if you've seen this because the pretty little lady from ABC7, Sandia Patel, and I call her the pretty little lady from ABC7 because that's what she called herself. And it's an ongoing joke out of over at Station X because she's awesome. But look at this video that she posted on her social media. This is that eye of the hurricane type thing that we were saying. See right there? Look at that.
Yeah.
That is insane. So
Spencer was saying people could look up and see sunshine in the middle of this rain and windstorm.
Well, that's like
how,
the eye. Yeah. I mean, so Drew Tuma from ABC7. I love when meteorologists, like, this is their time to freaking shine, right? Yeah. When there's real weather. And in California, oftentimes, I mean, this was like a once in a decade kind of weather event that we've ever seen. But this is Drew Tuma kind of explaining that kind of hurricane phenomenon. And here he is talking about that. And I just love how he
speaks. Rare meteorological effect that was occurring, and it's kind of a dance between two areas of low pressure that was occurring yesterday, and it's coined the Fujiwara effect, and that was because it was a meteorologist of the same name who defined this phenomenon. And what we think essentially happened yesterday was there were two areas of low pressure basically competing. They are fighting each other. And initially, one area of low pressure slammed into Santa Cruz, creating issues. And it was eventually absorbed by an area of low pressure just off our coastline. And as those two formed together in the afternoon yesterday, it just rapidly strengthened into one storm. And I think that's part of the reason why we saw such an intense system. Initially, our guidance thought it would just be a single area of low pressure moving in, but it turns out there are actually two areas of low pressure kind of duking it out, seeing who would win. And eventually one absorbed the other. And when that happens, it's very rare that happens, that one absorbs the other. And when that does, it just strengthens into one strong storm that just happened to occur right over San Francisco. And that's why we got such intense winds yesterday.
And it was crazy. But the funny part is, it's in weather events like this, and Kim, you'll feel me on this, that I'm always so happy that I went into radio and not television. Because what do they always make every freaking reporter do? This kind of crap.
Wind is nothing short of a hurricane right now. I don't know if you can hear it or you can hear some of the wind behind me, but it sounds like an absolute freight train. Now, I've never been in a hurricane, but I can't imagine this is much different right now. The winds have to be well over 50 miles an hour, probably faster. Now, earlier today, we've been out all over the East Bay checking on this storm damage.
All right, so that's just it, and then he obviously goes into the storm damage, which we love watching those shots, right? As viewers, we're like, oh my God. But I know what it's like to be out there, right? And you're just like, oh, I got to go back out there. And it's so, like, in the moment, he looked like he was having a ball. That is a tough gig. It really
We have a connection to him. That's Evan Cernovsky, formerly with the Chronicle, now with KTVU. Do you remember Alyssa Harrington, who was a reporter for a while? That's her husband.
Oh, I didn't know they were married.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Alyssa. Yeah, but I'm sure she was probably out in it too. Alyssa's with, is she with KTVU now? I think
She was. I'm not sure who she was with ABC7 for a
while. And I think she moved over to KTVU.
Yeah.
Amazing reporters. I remember during my reporting days up in Sacramento when we had kind of this historic storm, seeing all the TV people just waiting outside, pouring rain, waiting for their shot, because you have to wait there until they get to you.
Yeah.
It just sucks. Like, and us radio people are like, do you hear the sound of the rain? Because you don't need to be on camera. You just need to get the sound of it. And so, it was, I feel for all of my TV friends who have to do all that stuff. So just wanted to throw that out there. Today is supposed to be calmer, although we do still have more, rain on the way. And I am deathly afraid, honestly, Kim. I am deathly afraid of the moment Spencer Christian, Drew Tuma, Sandia Patel all say, oh my God, it's going to be a scorcher. Because what is going to happen? All of that friggin' snow is going to start to melt. And it's too much snow. It's too much snow. We've never... The levels are into the hundreds of feet of snow or inches of snow. It's crazy. And so unless Mother Nature really helps us out, we have a problem coming very, very quickly on our hands. And I don't know if they can forecast that far out at this point of how fast. I know I listened to Steve Paulson in the morning, and he said it even today. He's like, let's just hope it doesn't get too hot too quickly. And too sustained, because all of that water is just going to come right down. And these poor areas that were bombarded with all this snow will likely have to deal with the mudslides and the flooding. And I'm not looking forward to it. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't happen that way. Okay, let's get into driving. So veteran actor Dick Van Dyke, 97 years old, escaped serious injury in a solo car crash last week. But police submitted paperwork to the DMV, ratting the guy out, asking the agency to retest the 97-year-old's driving ability because of his advanced age. Okay, so on March 15th, police in Malibu responded to an accident. It was Dick Van Dyke's silver sedan had crashed into a gate. They found the actor behind the wheel of his Lexus. Van Dyke said that his car slid and he lost control before it slammed into the gate. Now, the roads had been wet.
So was that an accident, or did that have to do with age?
Well, exactly. So law enforcement says obviously drugs and alcohol did not play a role in the crash, but they do want Dick Van Dyke to undergo a driving test. It could be, does he know how to drive in wet weather? Do you still have the skills to be able to control a car that's doing certain things? Did you park it the right way? You know how you have to park if you're on a hill? All of these things that you're tested on your driving test could come into play. I do think that if I was a police officer and there was somebody of an advanced age in front of me that had gotten into a solo vehicle accident, I would definitely probably do the same thing. I'd be like, that's, no harm, no foul. But if you can still drive, prove it. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't know how I feel about, okay, once you hit, let's just say 90. 90.
It's kind of ageist. I
Is
mean,
it? Or is it like our bodies and minds do certain things of a certain age?
So let's just say, in theory, that I think you might have something going for you there. I think you have some good points, but I'll take the opposite viewpoint.
Okay.
And I'll say this about Dick Van Dyke. How many other people had accidents where their cars hydroplaned and slid and hit something yesterday in massive rainstorm?
Right.
I mean, it was coming down in Southern California as well. So, I mean, he's driving in a major storm. How many drivers in their 20s, 30s, 40s were involved in accidents yesterday? So why do we immediately jump to, oh, he's 97, it must be that? My stepmother's, I'll just call him my great-grandfather.
Okay.
He was amazing. Lived in Pasadena
Mhm.
and was sharp, quick, and with it until he broke his hip and then died very quickly. But until then, he was attending city meetings and city council meetings and volunteering on panels. He was an engineer that helped build highways in Southern California. He was driving all over the place, back and forth to all these meetings, and he was fine. He was 92, 93 when these things were happening. So who's to say that someone is completely fine and dandy driving around in their 90s and someone else might not be? Does that mean that every 90-year-old needs the test, or is that ageist?
Is it ageist to make people take a test?
Well, I mean, everyone should have to take the test. If you're going to make
everybody
the 90s
would
people,
at a certain age, right? So
Yeah.
if you hit a certain age, you should be tested. And how often? I would say you can ask the medical community, how quickly do certain bodily functions erode because of age, eyesight, reflexes, things like that. And we
Sure.
can base it on that. So if it's like, every 2 years, you need to go in and not just take the written test, but take the behind the wheel test. I don't see a problem with that. And if you have a problem with it, if you're of that age or near it, I think something else is going on. You're worried. You're worried you can't pass. I'll tell you the truth. Whenever they make me take the written test, sometimes you have to go take the written test. It's been a long time. I get a little nervous. I go, uh-oh. Do I have some bad habits I need to unlearn for this written test or what have you? But if they give me a driving test right now, hands down, I would ace that. Absolutely, I would ace that test.
Immortal Tiger says, Nikki, it should be based on one's ability to drive safely, not on a fixed age.
So then testing. So that's what I'm saying. So
not age-based, though. Just everybody, no matter your age.
Oh, no, I disagree. I think that's just going to overload our DMV. If we make everybody every 2 years, no matter your age test, that's a bit much because I don't think we have the staff to do something like that. But I would say after the age of 80, every 2 years, you have to at least do the written and then maybe every other do the behind the wheel. I don't see a problem. I don't think that's ageist at all. I think that's if you have the skill and ability to drive, what would the problem be in retaking the test? I mean, it's you have, and I might be a little stereotypical, but you got a lot of stuff to do today. I mean, maybe just add this to your very, very busy list of what you're doing when you're 80 years old, right? Like, I'm going to make a trip to the DMV today. I'm sure some people can fit it in their schedules. So go take a test.
I think it becomes a family decision in a lot of cases where you've driven with grandpa and it's getting a little scary. There was a point where my grandfather stopped being able to see approaching stop signs. And so if he saw it at the last minute, it was a hell of a stop, or we would just coast on through. And that's when we had the family discussion.
Yes.
Not a good thing anymore. Right. And so that was this moment. And I agree with Wes, who said my grandmother drove until 90. She had an accident and decided to stop driving on her own. I think that happens a lot where people know they get to the point where they're like, you know what? I've had some close calls lately. Maybe I need to stop. Or I'm having trouble seeing these stop signs. I'm having trouble, my hands are a little shaky. I'm having trouble staying as a straight line, whatever it may be. I think it often happens with a family discussion or with a self decision and not with a test.
Well, I might. So for instance, my mother, who is 10 years younger than my father, basically no longer drives anymore. So she's had glaucoma, she's had eye surgeries, and she just doesn't trust her peripheral vision enough that, I mean, yes, she can drive herself. I mean, and she could see, but she's like, you know what? If I don't have to drive, She definitely doesn't drive at night. She no longer drives at night, but that's been a while. But during the day, she's like, you know what? Your dad will just drive me, who is 10 years older than her. So just kind of to bring up, making that personal decision. But let me add this to the conversation. What if you, one, don't have enough family around you? What if, two, you have family that does not want to help you get to where you need to go? The support system that would be involved in taking somebody's keys or have them consider giving up their keys is complicated.
It's really complicated, and people feel like they're losing their independence, and you don't want to touch off some type of depression from someone. Beth, who we adore, says, as an old person, I think after 80, drivers should be tested behind the wheel every 2 years.
I agree.
And Liz writes, my neighbor is 96 and has gotten into his truck dinged quite often. My husband tells me he got into one yesterday because he saw that his bumper was damaged. He had to take a test last year and he passed. So
if I saw a 96-year-old getting behind the wheel of a car, and if you want to call me ageist, fine. I'd be concerned. Because there's facts, there's science behind this. When you are older, your reflexes are slower. I don't care what the hell you say. You could still have good reflexes. I'm not saying you don't, but typically when you get old, no, it's not typically. When you get older, your reflexes slow down. They don't get faster. You don't see better. You might see just the same, but these things happen. And so I don't think that there's anything wrong not taking away the keys, but testing more. I don't think that that's ageist.
Well, that's what Kim says. I agree with 80. With parents who are going to turn 80 this year, I noticed things with them, and I would want them to be tested every few years. And Wes makes a good point as well. Get retested. Get retested if you have a number of traffic issues. So, like if you're, of a certain age,
though. Yeah,
and you get or any age, and you got a couple speeding tickets, and maybe driving over the yellow line or weaving or whatever. That's, could trigger an automatic, we got to test you and make sure you're all right.
SF Tesla says, I don't know the age, but annual tests and in-person driving is nearly every year. I don't remember the last time I took a test. Do you?
No. And as a matter of fact, my driver's license expires this year. And for the first time in what seems like a decade, I've been asked to come into the DMV for I would assume, what is a new picture. But I don't know, maybe they'll ask me some questions like, all right.
Well, they should tell you. They usually tell you on the notice if you have to go back in. I lost my license, so I had to go in and get a new one. And I was kind of scared like you. I was like, oh, are they going to make me do something? But they didn't. They even used the same photo too, which was awesome. I was like, sure. Continue thinking that I look exactly like that. That works. Yeah, Katie says, I'm in my early 70s. I'm an active driver. And I agree with Nikki. I have no problem with age-regulated testing. Look, it's a test. It's not pulling the keys from people. Because in all honesty, I don't feel as a society, we are ready to take on the responsibility of getting our older citizens where they need to go on a daily basis. I don't think that there's enough of a support structure. I think that the sandwich generation is growing where you have younger kids and older parents to take care of. And you're going to also put that on the sandwich generation to take care of. I don't think it's possible. So what's going to happen? Older adults that are capable of driving can't anymore because of the limit. And then what? Either they're isolated, they lie and continue to drive anyway. So if we just keep it on the up and up and be like, look, you can have your license. You just have to show us that your faculties are all good to go. And you got to keep the keys. Seems fine. Vilma says the driving test should be given to people over 75 every 4 years. Okay. I mean, the age that it starts, I guess we could debate a little bit. But if you're retired, just go in and get tested. I don't know. Take the time out of your very busy day and go make sure you can still drive. Heather says, what's worse, Peepaw being depressed because he can't drive anymore, or someone getting paralyzed or worse from Peepaw plowing into them on the road because we're too afraid to test him? Right. Exactly, Heather. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. Sorry, Peepaw. You need to prove that you can still drive that truck around. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. Yeah. And Chris writes in, you'll just be chauffeuring your grandparents if you take away their driving privileges.
Yeah, that's fine. Right?
Well, if you have time to do that, if you're nearby, what if you don't live anywhere near? What if you live an hour away even? They need to go to the grocery store. You're going to drive your ass down I take him to the grocery store all the time?
Yeah.
Not possible. Liz says, how do you take the key away from someone who lives by himself? I offered to drive him around when he needs to go somewhere, but he declined. Oh, because they, just like Kim mentioned, they don't want to lose their independence. You don't want to ask somebody. It's hard enough. I have Ubered from my house versus asking someone that lives, down the street. Well, this is my parents, but down the street to take me somewhere. I'm like, I'll take care of it myself. And there's a good excuse. Like, I lost my car. My car was in the shop. That's why I needed a ride. I Ubered. I don't know why I say Uber. I never take Uber. I lifted over there. And I think it's just human nature to not want to depend on anybody else, and you'll handle it yourself. Yeah. Let's see. Beth says, I took my driving test in 1968 and haven't had one since. Yeah, I haven't had a behind the wheel test since I got my driver's license. Right. But I think I would pass it. I kind of want to do an experiment. I'm like, can somebody just give me a driver's test to see how well I do? Remember, the best piece of advice, and if anybody has teenagers that are about to take their driving test, the best piece of advice I ever got, those classes that you take before you take your behind the wheel test, best piece of advice I ever got was you have to be obvious with your movements, as in looking in the mirror and looking, all those sorts of things. You can't just, they said, don't just look with your eyes, look with your head. Because
yeah.
Like, you have to I am looking in my mirror. I am checking this mirror. I am, all of those sorts of things. And I aced my driving test. And I still think about that tip and trick every single time. So
did you pass the first time?
Oh yeah. Aced it.
I did not. I did not. I took the driving test in Capitola.
Okay.
And I got the mean guy, first of all.
Of course it was mean, but
right around the DMV in Capitola were these street dips instead of stop signs. They're dips in the road. I went flying over these things. They were not in my neighborhood. I'd never seen a dip before. I didn't know what that meant. Well,
Did you
now
just go straight into them or what?
Well, yeah. It's almost the sensation of when you don't realize a speed bump is there and you just hit it at full speed.
Are you not looking? I think somebody needs an eye test over here.
I think I was 17 at the time. I go over these bumps and it's like a thunk. And the guy's like, go back to the DMV. I mean, this might have been a block away from the DMV. It was like, the test lasted all 3 minutes.
Oh, that is so funny.
Gotta go back to the DMV. I'm like, what happened? What was that? And he's like, well, that's a street dip, and it's actually to be treated like a stop sign. Apparently,
I didn't know that.
The guy told me that it was a what now?
You're supposed to stop completely or just slow down?
He said, my 17-year-old self, if I'm remembering back, he told me they are to be treated as a stop sign. You're supposed to stop at the dip and then proceed down. Now, I thought nowadays I just go very slowly over the dip, right? Yeah. It's a way to slow you down as you approach an intersection. Okay, great. I deserve not to pass because not only did I not stop, I did not slow down for the said dip.
I can totally see.
And then there was one that we go to the intersection, and then there's another one. He's like, "Yeah, you're back to the DMV." The next time I passed with flying colors, but the first time out of the gate, the dips got me.
Oh, how funny! Yeah, no, another tip, which they also said, is you should practice around the DMV because they're obviously going to test you around the DMV. Yeah. So maybe Kim, if you would have done
that would have been a wise move.
At least you would have known. I still think you would have failed because I would have never thought that you had to stop and then go in.
Right.
I would have slowed down enough, but I wouldn't. I will tell you this. I am the biggest. I'm so guilty of the California stop. I am the queen of the California stop. It takes a lot for me to come to a full and complete stop. Let me just say that. There's nobody coming or anything like that, but that California roll would get me definitely. And that's probably what I would do with the dip. I'd slow down enough and then just kind of roll into it. So yeah, Kim says those are street dips in Petaluma. I just slow in the dip. I don't stop.
Yeah. I think you're supposed to stop and then proceed slowly and cautiously. This is not what happened to me.
Look what Chris wrote in. I drove to the DMV test at 16 by myself. They told me I couldn't do that.
Oh,
no. What did you take the test, Chris? I mean, how did they find out? I would have just, I guess they would know.
You can't do that. You can't break the law and then take the test. right?
Yeah, but like, did they know? Like, or did you just disclose that to them? I bet they saw you maybe getting out of the car, walk up and be like, I need to take my driver's license test. Oh, Tim, sorry. The last California stop cost me $300. That was my very first ticket. My very first ticket I ever got. I still have in my memory box that I went through when I was moving. My very first ticket, California stop. I was with my friends and he pulled me over and I was so bummed. He's like, do you know why I pulled you over? I love when they ask you that. And I go, no, you didn't stop at that stop sign. I go, oh, I didn't.
Oh,
Stopped enough.
I didn't? That's confusing.
Go.
I got 3 speeding tickets within a period of like 2 months.
Okay.
When I first got my driver's license, there was this, there still is, this road in Capitola, in between Capitola and Soquel, where it's like the stand of eucalyptus trees and then the ocean, but it's like a dip, like a roller coaster dip.
Okay.
And the faster you go down it, the more you feel it in your stomach like a roller coaster. I used to fly over that dip. And cops knew people would do that, so they hung out in the grove of trees and they would come and get you. I got 3 tickets and a note saying my license.
Took you 3 times to stop doing that?
3 tickets, yeah.
You're terrible.
Well, I think 2 on that road and 1 on the way to high school, speeding down Soquel Drive.
Look at you, Batty.
So my dad said, clearly, you don't understand the financial impact and implication and financial impact of tickets, of speeding tickets, or of having a vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and take your 1968 Ford Mustang away.
Done.
That was another problem.
Obviously, you can't.
Big hot rod. So he said, we're going to take this car away from you because you don't understand the financial impact of having a car. Because you're not the one paying the bills. So until you understand the financial impact, we're taking your car away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got 3 right out of the gate, speeding tickets back to back.
Oh, I would have done the exact same thing. Obviously, you don't know how to drive properly. So we're just going to take your keys away. I can already see myself having this conversation with my kids. Although nowadays, kids aren't like at the DMV on their 16th birthday like we were. 16th birthday. Yeah. That was what I was doing on my birthday, was getting my driver's license.
I don't think kids care. Most kids don't care as much right now.
No, they can be together in different ways, you know?
Yeah, and so they're not like on their 16th birthday at the DMV itching to get their license. They're waiting a little bit. They're like, I'll do it when it feels right.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like that was the fun part of turning 16, right? Walnut Creek Adult Softball says, I got 2 tickets in 3 days. Same cop, same place. I was late for work even later after the stop. Yeah. Sometimes I think about that. Like,
no.
What excuse could I give? One time, the last time I was pulled over for a cop, I know when it was because it was my birthday. And he pulled me over and the kids were in the back of my car. They were young. This was a while ago. And what I had done, I don't know how many of you do this, but you know, like when you're stuck in a very long red light and you've just gone through so many cycles, I always say the same thing and it's terrible. I shouldn't say it. I always go, you go, I go, you go, I go to the car in front of me. Like if you go, I'm going. If you go, I'm going. And so the car in front of me went and that car ran the red light. I followed it. And so the cop pulled me over, obviously, and let the other guy go. And he's like, why did you do it? Like, he was so flabbergasted. He's like, why did you do that? I was like, I'm so sorry. Da, 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 da. And he gets my license and the kid. And I told the kids as he's pulling me over, I'm like, Mom's getting pulled over. I did something wrong. Driving wise, don't worry about it. We're going to be, very respectful. Walking through because they've never been in the car. I don't think ever since either with the cop coming up to us. And so he pulls me over and he asks for my license. And I go, it is my birthday. Totally worked. He totally let me off. He's like, as a birthday gift. He's like, da-da-da. He gave me the riot act. He read me the riot act. But yeah, he totally let me off for my birthday. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
no, that's good. Anytime you can get out of a ticket, I say excellent.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I got out of a ticket in Petaluma once. It was my husband driving. Mm-hmm. And it was one of these things where I was supposed to tell him when to turn, but I told him to turn too late. And so it was kind of a haphazard, weird turn. So we get pulled over. And it was a turn down a street you weren't supposed to turn down.
Hell, you're just leading him down to hell. You're like, sorry.
We're like, turn in here at the library. No, you can't go that way in the library.
Bad pilot. Okay, co-pilot, you're fine. Okay.
So we see the lights and sirens behind, kids in the back seat, family of 4 in the car.
Oh, geez.
Cop walks up to the window, and I look over at him and I go, "Oh, you're so and so's husband," because it's Petaluma and everybody knows each other. So like
Oh, I
you
would not like that at
always know
all.
who's. So he looks at me and he's like, "How do I give my wife's sister's friend a ticket?" And so he's like, "Well, I'll let you off with the
Very
warning,
easily, you
guys.
write it out and be like,
Be a
"Tell
little
'em I
more
say hi."
careful." I'm like, "Oh, thank God for a small town." Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was one
All about
time
who you
pulled over.
know.
I was pulled over once in Sacramento when I was a reporter in the news truck by the CHP. And what happens, if anybody knows Sacramento, there's 80 and there's business 80. Okay. And it kind of cuts through a little bit. If you know Sacramento, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The speed limit changes during this one little section. And I know we're late for headlines. We'll get to them
It's
in a
almost
second.
like a speed trap. Like they do that on purpose.
Well, I mean, I'm terrible. Whatever. I was wrong. Okay. The worst part of this whole story is, so the CHP pulls me over, embarrassing as hell, because I'm in the wrapped news vehicle on the side of the freeway getting pulled over. Then to add insult to injury, he's like, "You were speeding." And I was like, "I was." And he's like, "What do you think the speed limit is right here?" And I was so fucking, I was so off. I was so off of what the speed limit actually was. And he's like, "Reduce it by 10 miles per hour." And I was like, "Oh no." And that's the only time my name, like, he knew I was with KFBK. He knew I was Nikki Medoro. And he was like, now this is what he did. I'm not even kidding. He's like, "You raise your right hand. Say, I promise I will never da da da." And I was like, "I'm sure, no problem. I do not want to go back to the newsroom and tell them that I just got a ticket in the news vehicle." I didn't know how that would work. Like,
no, they take away your news driving privileges. Yeah, you don't want that. No way, man. Thank God he knew your name.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was really obvious since I was in the wrapped vehicle and the station isn't that big. But yeah, it was quite embarrassing, if I do say so myself. Okay, let's do some headlines. I'll get to some of your comments afterwards, because it's a really good question of how we really are going to deal with an aging population. But let's get some news headlines in with, of course, Kim McAllister.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report could be sponsored by you. Interested in sponsorship opportunities with the Nikki Medoro Show? Please email us at thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. And we'll talk to you about it. Talk to Nikki. We'll see what we can line up together, sponsor the news, sponsor a segment. We'd love to have you aboard. Let's get right to Denver, because this is a huge story today where a Denver high school, 2 faculty members were shot. This high school is set to remain closed for the rest of the week. That, according to the school district, which made the announcement about East High School. It was the scene of today's shooting that was allegedly carried out by a student who police say was supposed to be searched every day before entering the school because of past behavior issues. At the search point is where he allegedly pulled out the weapon and opened fire. Again, 2 faculty members injured, 1 in surgery, 1 in stable condition, and they're still looking for this student who then ran off. An ally of former President Donald Trump is saying the Manhattan District Attorney should be having second thoughts about pursuing any kind of indictment. That is what Bob Costello told NBC News after it came out that the grand jury was told not to report today. Costello appeared before the panel Monday, said his testimony changed things for prosecutors as they look at Trump and alleged money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels right before he was elected president. One senator is urging the CEO of Moderna not to go through with a 5-fold price increase for its COVID vaccine. If you guessed Bernie Sanders on the side of consumers, you would be right. Moderna is looking to soon charge $130 compared to the $26 it charged the federal government, that it still charges the federal government right now. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders made his plea as he had Stephanie Bancel before his committee on Capitol Hill, saying, "Look, Moderna, the government gave you $10 million to help develop this vaccine. Why are you turning around and charging the American people $130 per dose?" France's president is defending his decision to implement a bill to raise the nation's retirement age. Speaking with several channels in France, Emmanuel Macron said he doesn't enjoy this bill, but despite that, he insisted he had to take action because this situation will only get worse if it's allowed to drag on. He wants to raise the retirement age in France from the current 62 up to 64. California State Senate and Assembly lawmakers set to consider an audit request today as labor unions try to block this action, investigating rampant wage theft in California. This, back in January, was proposed by State Senator Steve Glazer, seen here. He proposed an independent state investigation into the issue and looking into the state system set up to help robbed workers. The California Labor Federation, which represents 1,200 local unions, disagrees with that method. The Federation sent a list of its own plans to lawmakers on Friday. Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, who is the chief of that federation, told the LA Times they're trying to get action done today. Went on to say bringing the investigations whose findings would be public would impede these changes. So it's changes to wage theft in California and how that whole situation is handled. This report could be sponsored by you. We also appreciate all of the crowdfunding that you kick in for to help us fund the Nikki Medoro Show. We wanted to continue. We are happy to be doing this show and hang out with you and with each other talking about the stories of the day. So if you can contribute, please go to the website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. Become a Patreon member. We appreciate it so much, I can't tell you. You'll also find the PayPal link there as well. And also there's YouTube. So you can send us a super sticker or contribution through the super chat, which is now live. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Alrighty, thank you, Kim. Let me give some shout outs. Oh, get Glazer off the thing. Okay. Let me give some shout outs real quickly after I lower the music just a little bit. Thank you to everybody that's been donating to the super chat. Rick started us off with a $2 donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wes with a couple of donations, starting with a $5 super sticker, and then with a $10 and a comment.
Whoa.
Love your show here. It's so much more interactive. I love that part about the show. And then Walter, great show. Aloha, baby. Thanks for the $5, Walter. And yeah, you guys can donate during the super chat. Just look for the $sign, and you can donate whether the show is live or if you're watching in the replay, and we appreciate it so much. Okay, let me read some more comments about the driving before we move on real quickly. A lot of people were talking about tickets. Oh, wait, hold on. Lori said, I had to take care of a ticket summons thing that caused my license to be suspended without me knowing at first. I had to drive myself to the DMV on a suspended license, park half a block from the DMV just in case.
Smart cookie.
Who's the dumbass? Me. That still hasn't put her tags on her car.
Uh-oh.
I'm just driving around with them in my purse. I swear. It's because I have to. Okay, and I know this is so stupid. It's because I have to unscrew my license plate cover to get my sticker on there.
Oh.
And because of that step, I'm just not doing it. I haven't done it. It's something that I got to get the screwdriver out. I got to unscrew it. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but there's a bar, and apparently that bar is just.
You probably haven't been pulled over for that because
I did last year. I got a ticket for it. I had to go get a fix-it ticket. It sucked, man. You'd think I'd learned my lesson. And the cop that had to sign off on my ticket even told me, he's like, yeah. He's like, he knows it's the cover. He's like, I see it all the time. And I told him, like, I have the tags. And I don't know if there's any cops in the comments, but can't they run it and know that you're registered? Like, I'm sure they do. The tags? They know.
But if it's out of date enough, even though they know your car's registered, they're probably like, well, where's the sticker?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
What's happening?
That's why. Yeah. So yeah, I need to go do that. Every time I open up my purse, there's the envelope with the tags. I mean, I'm going to hold on to these damn tags so much. I'm going to have to register my car again to get the new ones. But yeah, I know, Eric. And I tell my husband this all the time. My husband, can I just give him a little bit of props? My husband, congratulations. My husband has just been promoted to foreman. So my husband is now foreman.
Yay!
So yes, very, very proud of you, my love. Mwah. So he's a very busy man, getting a lot of overtime and a lot more responsibility. But yeah, I'll add that to the honey-do list, shall we?
That's great.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about food. First off, this is the most disgusting story I've read in a while. Fitness influencers on TikTok. We were talking about TikTok, people getting, their bread and butter and small businesses through it. Fitness influencers on TikTok have found themselves intrigued by getting more protein. And how are they getting more protein into their diet, Kim McAllister? How would you think they are getting more protein into their diet?
I don't know.
By eating their dog's food. So apparently there's a staggering high amount of protein in dog food.
Okay.
And so some fitness influencers, this one's named Henry Charzy, had a 200-gram serving of dog food because it has more than 600 grams of protein. And he said if he gets 15,000 likes, he'd eat a bowl of it. He got 2.5 million, and so he ate it.
Can't he just buy a protein bar? Wouldn't that be...
Would it have 666 grams of protein in it? I don't think so. Yeah. But then there's like, how could you possibly ingest dog food? And then there's me, who apparently has been shoveling food that is not fit for human consumption in my mouth almost on the daily. And that is because, my friend, hot tamales are hands down my favorite candy. And apparently, along with Skittles and other things, has an additive, titanium something or other.
I think it's in one of the dyes used in that candy.
Titanium dioxide is what the chemical is called. And yeah, it's an additive.
Yep.
That in Europe, they say, you can't eat that. That's not food.
No.
But here in America,
as a matter of fact, not only is it not food, it's toxic.
Toxic.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm almost half hot tamale, if you didn't know. That's where my spiciness comes from.
This does not surprise me at all.
I love hot tamales. Our old friend Chris, our old engineer at Station X, he would just randomly, because he knew how much I loved him, he would always drop it when I'm trying to lay off the sugar. But if he would bring me a box, I gotta text that guy. I miss Chris. He'd bring me a box of hot tamales or Dots. Oh, love Dots, but Dots wasn't on the list. Skittles.
I hate how Dots stick to your teeth. No can do.
That's because you don't eat them right. There's a trick to eating Dots.
Oh.
You can't just go all in full tooth. You have to if you want to see, you can learn things on the Nikki Medoro Show. So what you do, Kim McAllister, is you put the dot in your mouth and then you just kind of gently bite it. And then you kind of break it up so that the sugar dissolves a little bit. I mean, you're still going to get stuff in your teeth, but you do not, under any circumstances, shove dots.
I prefer the Junior Mint.
They're all right.
That's my candy of choice.
Hot tamales, Dots. Those are my hands down 2 favorite candies. If you're going to spoil, like my husband for Valentine's Day, was it this past Valentine's Day? I think he just took the whole entire, you know how they sell boxes of candy in the cardboard thing? He just took the whole thing and bought it all because it just plopped there like it was a convenience.
Oh, that's a lot of hot tamales.
Yeah, and then I had to eat them all in one sitting so that they wouldn't be in the house anymore. So it was just a lot of candy, a lot of candy.
JR wants to know if Hot Tamale is your stripper name.
Ooh, sure. Why not? It'll be my OnlyFans name. How about that?
John's like my husband.
I'm just kidding.
John's like my husband.
I hate Whoppers.
My husband loves Whoppers. As a matter of fact, if he ever orders a milkshake, it's always like a malt. It's always with extra malt. As much malt as you can put in.
I hate Whoppers. They're dry. I don't want dry balls in my mouth. And yeah, you could pull that clip. It's gross. It's so gross. I do not like them at all.
We're gonna pull that and use it on the Mark Thompson show. I'm just warning you right now. 153.
Hey, if it ends up in Mark's Madness,
I'm making note of the time.
Madness, it better win. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I don't like them. I like peanut butter cups. Right now I'm eating as my sweet treat. I got some Girl Scout cookies, so I'm eating those.
Oh, those Samoas are killing me.
Oh, I had to finish the whole. See, this is the way I think. I go
So
eat them all, so you don't eat them anymore. So I've eaten a whole box of Samoas. My son ate a whole box of s'mores. I don't like the s'mores very much.
No,
but,
they have a chemical taste to them.
It doesn't taste like a s'more.
No.
Do you remember they used to
Some
make
people
microwavable s'mores? Those were
and some
bomb.
people say that you should put these Girl Scout s'mores, of course, out of the plastic package, on a little plate and zap them for 10 seconds before you eat them. That they're better if you zap them first.
Okay, well, I mean, some people love frozen Thin Mints, so I guess it's not too much to ask people to nuke them for a little bit. I don't like them. I wish that they actually had a softness to them, like a s'more, or maybe on the inside. I don't know. But yeah, there are some hits and misses with the Girl Scout cookies in my book. But yeah. And then there's one more food story. Yes, I have time to get to it. Have you heard about this guy that is suing all kinds of restaurants and companies? So his latest one is he's suing Buffalo Wild Wings because it's not actually a wing. It's boneless chicken breast. It's not actually a boneless wing.
Oh, a false advertising, huh?
But who thinks that there's such a thing as a boneless wing? Obviously, it's pressed together. But you know what? There's no such thing as a nugget on a chicken either. But people eat that, right?
But I mean, you're not advertising something that's not true. If you order a chicken nugget, one expects that it's some part of the chicken,
right?
You know, formed into
what
a
do you
ball
think a boneless
and
chicken wing
deep-fried.
comes from? I mean, logically, if someone says, I want boneless chicken wings, you want something that looks like a wing, like the bone-in chicken wing.
Right.
But no chicken comes with no bone in their wing.
I would expect that if it's a chicken wing, it would be the meat from the wing.
But then it would not be together.
But it wouldn't be from other parts of the chicken. It would still be wing meat.
Wing meat? I want the wing meat. No, you want what? This is like white meat chicken breast. It's like, but some people covet. I don't. I like chicken thighs, but
well, then it's not a chicken wing.
No,
it's not.
But
it's
there's
not
no such thing as a boneless chicken wing. There's no such thing as a boneless chicken wing.
Well, that should be. You should be able to take the bone off.
Are you the attorney for this nutcase? No,
I'm
no.
I'm just saying it should be. It should be. If you advertise a wing, it should be the wing meat.
Do you know how many wings would have to be like deboned for it to be substantial and the same size as the boneless chicken wing? That's a lot. You know what I love? I love the videos of people that can eat chicken wings and shove the whole thing in their mouth and then take it out and there's no meat on the bone. I can't do that. But
why are you telling me that it's boneless wing meat? Why aren't you telling me that it's a boneless chicken?
It's white
wedge?
meat. It's just white meat. It's breast meat. It's just chicken breast that they've molded to look
chicken
like
chunks.
Because chicken chunk doesn't sound as good. And if you're going to Buffalo Wild Wings, I mean, come on.
You expect wings to be on your plate.
Yeah, exactly. See, Lori says, how much labor to extract a bone from a wing? You cannot really debone a wing. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know because I don't necessarily eat wings because remember I don't eat things off bones. The barbaric bone gnawing isn't happening. From the dry balls to that, I think we've got it covered here on the Nikki Medoro Show.
I love chicken wings, but I like flats. I will pay $1 extra to have all flats. I like my wings with the bone in and flat. How about that? I like it like that. But yeah, no. Oh, come on. I swear to God, drumsticks are not wings. No, not at all. They are not. There's a lot bigger. Those are legs. Drumsticks are legs, chicken legs, right?
You couldn't have a boneless drumstick. That just by its very nature wouldn't work.
It'd just be dark meat.
Yeah.
Just dark meat.
No.
Uh-oh.
No. I cannot stand. Her mother-in-law took us to one of those medieval reenactment things down at Disneyland years ago. The entire family was freaked out because there's no utensils and they serve you the barbaric chicken on bones. So my brother-in-law and I had to peel all the meat off all the bones for everyone in the family because none of them could stand,
I would have let them
especially
starve.
this one could not stand eating a drumstick. I call her a reluctant carnivore. She doesn't want to think about where it comes from. She just wants you to plunk it down on the plate, cooked, burnt to a crisp.
I'm sensing that your
That's all I
husband
gotta
feels
say
very
about that.
strongly about this. I love your husband. He's like, no, we are going to get this abundantly
we're getting to the bottom. You can tell he's listening to the show while he's working. Oh, he let the dog in too. He's listening while he's working. He just marches right in. He's like, this is coming to an end right now.
She needs to eat the meat off the bone. Kim, please do your husband a solid and please eat the meat off the bone once in a while. All right. Just do it for him. It'll be fine. I think that this show has gone off the rails and we were really only talking about food. I swear. All right, everybody.
I'd like to break a little news before we end it. Can I do that?
Shoot. Yeah, heck yeah. Always.
Yeah, because this story just came out that former President Trump's defense attorney, Evan Corcoran, is scheduled to testify Friday now before this grand jury investigating classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, interesting.
He wasn't going to. He didn't want to. But now there's an appeal, a panel of 3 judges in an appeals court saying, yeah, you got to come in, got to do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm a little disappointed that none of this arresting has happened. Still free man. I know that this has to do with the classified documents. The other has to do with
all these cases are heating up all at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. I love this comment from Chris. If there was ever an episode to recommend to your friends, please recommend the show to your friends. This is just what, you get a little bit of everything on the Nikki Medoro Show. And so please go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com. Or you can just share the YouTube link, but we have links to past shows right there. And that's also where you can donate to our Patreon. And please do it. We love doing the show. We love interacting with you guys every day, Monday through Friday. And if you can donate to the show, we are 100% crowdfunded. So you guys are going to make it happen as much as we do every day that we're here. Love you all. Again, all the links are there. PayPal, merchandise, everything. The super chat is live. Even if you're watching in replay, thank you to everybody that's been donating. Tomorrow, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get Emily Hoven from the Chronicle on to talk about that domestic violence bill. Because remember, even though the word is in it, domestic violence is not considered a violent crime. Plus so much more. Jefferson Graham's going to join us tomorrow with some tips and tricks to you. Oh, no, he's not going to be on tomorrow. I apologize. He's on his fabulous trip to Japan, remember? Yeah. So we won't have him, but hopefully he'll be back in a couple of weeks. And you'll be here too.
I will.
Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.